Good evening. Welcome to another issue of Monday Meditations with Wine. I'm Chuck Nix, the bearded wino. I'm here with my good friend Tiffany Bobbs, the wine director and sommelier at Manship Woodfire Kitchen in Jackson. Hey, Tiff, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you? Happy
I am
Sunday.
fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're catching a little bit early. We're catching before we come on Mondays because you're always locked in the restaurant on Mondays, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm throwing kinks in the schedule left and right. Tis the business.
No kinks at all. No kinks at all. Thanks to modern technology, we're still here with the people on Monday. So, look, if you were checking us out on our Facebook page, thank you so much for your support. We really do appreciate you week after week. We bring forth a professional, usually in the South, to have a conversation with, just for you to get to know a little bit better. Considering this is the last Monday in the month that we had Mother's Day, we found another mother who's doing great things in the hospitality sector to present for you. So, a couple of updates and things that are going on at Bravo. We do have the rosé tasting coming up on the 6th of June. We just had a really, really awesome gin tasting on our patio. So if you still don't have tickets for the rosé tasting, please get to bravobuzz.com, hit the events tab, shoot me an email, and I'll be reaching out to you. I'll be confirming all of your previous reservations this week. So check your inboxes and stay tuned. We're going to be having some great things coming your way. Tiffany, how's your weekend been?
It's been great. You and I had a little trip at the beginning of the week, so got back towards the end and jumped right back into the restaurant. Worked all weekend. We had a huge offsite wedding we did last night for the restaurant, so that was a late night last night, early morning, Sunday brunch this morning, and now it's time to play mom and do a little catch up at the house. So no complaints.
Heard that. How's that tiny human doing?
Tiny Human is growing up fast. I'll be going to pick her up here when we wrap up. So she is in her exam week of her last year of her freshman year. And then she's off for the summer, headed to Paris. So she's doing better than the rest of us are doing right now. So
I'd say she's doing okay. And look, we keep calling her tiny human because we're used to her being tiny, but she's not so tiny anymore
not so tiny.
at all.
Got a good like 6 inches on me. Looks like she's 24. It's yeah, pretty nauseating. I drink a lot of tequila. It's great.
I remember that. I remember last summer our daughters were like at your place together, and I was just looking at them both. So I was like, "Look at these kids. They're not kids. They don't look like kids anymore."
Exactly. They're little miniature grown-ups. Yeah. Like people will literally like I'll go out, we'll go grab something to eat or whatever. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, is this your sister?" I'm like, "This is my child. This is my baby, little bitty tiny human." They're like, okay." She gets offered wine almost as much as I do. So
I was gonna say, look, I know how my kids are with me being a wine professional and some. What's Abigail like with you being in the business? Like, what is it like with her tastings? I know, but give the people an idea. Like, what's it like?
so it's pretty much she thinks I'm the biggest nerd on the planet. She doesn't understand like why are you reading? I don't understand, and which a lot of people don't realize half of our job, or probably more than half, is reading and studying.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
not just drinking, sadly, but so and then she gladly is still at the age where she's not really into drinking. Like it's not cool yet,
Mhm.
or excuse me, I don't think we say cool. I think it's bussin' or so. I don't know. I'm sure that's out to date now too. But
I heard slap. We sound real old. I heard
we
slap.
do sound, yeah, yeah. Don't worry, I will use this to embarrass her in no time. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I try to talk to her about it and sort of get her involved because I thoroughly believe, go ahead, talk to them now, and then it's not a stigma, and maybe she won't be trying to take sips behind my back. But yeah, no interest whatsoever. So I'm sure
Um,
in a year or two that will change, and I'll be doing inventory at my house. But as of right now, we're still safe. So.
I'll say this. Look, you touched on a really good point, a really cool point, because my daughters, they're not into drinking as well, and I think that I've introduced them to the alcohol beverage industry enough to the point to where they understand that there's a profession to it. Yeah, I'm nerdy old dad. I'm always studying, and we're songs, right? So we're always long winded. Everything we say takes forever to get the point across, as far as they're concerned. So, uh, I talked to them about alcohol alcohol, and I talk to them about, drinking, so forth. And from time to time, I'll offer them to taste what I'm tasting, and they're just like, yeah, no, they don't like it. They may have something to offer to a conversation, but they're not into it. So it's really cool because I don't them being so drawn to it or so excited because we're not
Exactly.
keeping it completely away from them, and they have an
Right.
opportunity to their own with it. So that's really, really cool.
And
You're
that's
doing a good job.
hey, we're all just doing the best that we can. There's not a guidebook. I wish there were. I wish there was a book I could read about and just check off the boxes for parenting like there is for wine. But we did a tasting. We were studying, and I don't remember if you were here or if it was when our friend Sarah Faye was here. But I was literally sitting at this dining room table, and we were doing a blind tasting, and we had been discussing like going back and forth over. We couldn't figure out what was in a wine, and or maybe I think it might have been during the holidays because my sister was here. I do remember that. And so we literally been talking about this wine for like 30 minutes. So, and I think it's raspberry. No, is it this? Is it that? And she walked through, one airbud and just, looks over. She's like, y'all been talking about this forever. It's fruit. Pick it. And I was like, oh, you think it's so easy? Fine. I was like, come sniff this. And she came and she was like, it just tastes like that raspberry that used to be in that cold medicine you gave me, and walked off. And we were all like, damn, that's it. It's like, here we are studying, going up and down about climates and terroir and all this other stuff. And she's just like, yeah, it's cold medicine. No big deal. And walks on and nailed it. I'm like, I can't wait. I was like, your palate and nose is amazing. So now, like, literally when I study, if I have trouble with something, I'll call her in here because she's got that fresh nose. I'm like, smell this. What do you smell?
They always have the fresh nose and great insight. That's what I think is kind of the joy of having kids that grow up in this business. Like, we didn't really grow up in it. We learned it as we got grown, but most of us in our generation didn't really grow up in this business. You and I both grew up in pretty conservative Christian households. So where alcohol was like not a question.
In a dry county.
So it's like
45 minutes to buy alcohol. So
yeah. And so when we came up, it was kind of like, okay, we got into this business, while we were in school, and then stuck with it. And then we learned another side of it. The idea for our kids that we're showing them the way, I think this is a new wave, or I think it's just another way that we need to start thinking about how we talk to our kids, at least in the United States, about this business. A multi-trillion-dollar business that is providing jobs in abundance across the board. And we don't even let our active working demographic know about this business or this industry until they're 21.
Exactly.
We make them wait 2 decades before we even let them know.
And look, and so much of Europe already has this on lockdown. When I was in high school, my sister was an art major, so she lived in Italy for 2 summers. And when she came back, she was talking, and one of the things she said, it was like, if you basically over there, if you could see over the bar, you can get a drink. She's like, and she said when they sit down to family dinners, there's wine poured for the children. And of course, not a glass like I would pour myself, but just a little taste, because wine is not an intoxicant over there. It's to be enjoyed with food, which is what I think a lot of times we lose sight on over here. And we get so wrapped up in it, and it's like, no, this is something you can enjoy, and and goes along with food. And then it's not a big deal. And then it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever, and I really think it's something that we need to revisit and look at. And it's probably not a popular opinion for a lot of people, and especially a lot of people in our area, but it is what it is. I think alcoholism rates and all that, I think all of that goes back to show, if you study this, keeping it hidden and taboo is only going to make it more of a problem. So let's get out there and talk about it. Not to mention, I make the joke all the time to tables at the restaurant. If you've come in, you've heard me say it. It's like, well, my high school guidance counselor didn't tell me I can make a living drinking, but I've done it. And, and it's tongue in cheek, but it's true. Because I haven't made a living, it's not just drinking. There is more to it, but it's I mean, it's an amazing opportunity for people like you and I who love great food and love great wines and spirits and cigars and everything that we love, and just hospitality. And we're the hospitality state. That's what the South is known for, is, making sure that everyone's welcome and is having a good time and makes you feel at home. And I think a lot of times we sort of overlook that aspect. So
it's about experience, and it's about thinking different about experience and creating an experience through education and through enlightenment, and empowerment, right? We're talking about all these things, but also thinking different. So me and you, we traveled a bit this month, and and we'll talk
just
about everything. We'll talk about everything that we've been doing, but I think that one of the more important trips that we made was to Dallas, to Texas for the awards and competition there and retreat. So when we were there, the conversation around thinking different and speaking different about wines and about our culture, about our industry. Um, this is all what we're talking about as far as thinking different. The way that we address alcohol with our youth. If we start talking about responsible service and consumption early, we don't have the troubles that we have when they get older. Thinking differently about wine um, also falls into hospitality and different approaches. What is the approach to hospitality like for you in your place where you are, Manship? Is it really like buttoned up and suit and tie?
not at all. I mean, one of the things I love about our restaurant is it's just, I mean, it's like a hodgepodge, because we are in the Belhaven area in downtown Jackson. And so we get a cross section. We are blocks over from the Senate building and the legislature. So, when they're in session, it's suits and ties and very much lawyers and everything that you sort of have always associated with wine and high spirits, and um, very professional, very buttoned up, very sophisticated, linen over your arm and presenting wine. We're
Right.
also, we're a couple blocks from Belhaven, Millsaps, all these college towns. So you have, these youth coming in who are just learning, getting their way, and who may or may not have, money to be spending on wine. So, I will sell a $20 bottle of wine and then 15 minutes later sell a $300 bottle of wine.
Wait a minute,
And
Tiffany. Did you say you have a $20 bottle of wine at Manship?
I do have a $20 bottle of wine at Manship. It's
I just want
amazing.
people to know that everyone can come there.
And you know what's even better is I have multiple $20 bottles of wine. So I have bottles of wine for no matter what the price point. It's one thing that Stephen and Alex, our owners, have always pushed from the start is you should be comfortable. That when you come in, you're comfortable. If you want to come in shorts and a t-shirt, come on in. You're in a tux after a wedding, come on in. Um, we don't care. We don't care what you look like. We don't care what your price point is for the evening. We sell out wood-fired pizzas. We do, happy hour pizzas, $5 pizza, $5 margarita pizza from 3 to 6 every day. We also have a $55 bone-in strip. So you get to make of your experience what you want. And that's one of my main roles there, is to guide you, because our list is intimidating. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I have over 400 wines. Stephen, who is our bourbon steward and just all around, I mean, he's bourbon rain man. He's amazing with his knowledge, but he has over 1,000 spirits. So you walk
The
in and you're
whiskey
just
list alone, the whiskey list alone is outrageous. I've never seen anything like it.
it frightens me. Like every time that Steve is not in the building and someone asks, they're like, hey, Bob's table so-and-so has a whiskey question. I'm like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. It's scary because he has so many amazing things that are nowhere else in the Southeast because of his knowledge and because his love of bourbon has gone on so long. So it's great, but it's very intimidating for people to come in. So that's our main hospitality goal. When you walk in, we want you to feel at home, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what you're wearing, no matter who you're with. You want to bring your kids, great. You want to come in all adults, fine. Whoever you're with, whether it be a party of 2 or a party of 15, we want you to come in and feel welcome. And then we want to help guide you through that experience. You tell us what you're looking for out of your experience, and we're going to guide you through that. And they give me the empowerment to do that. I get to full rein in on the wine list, and I get to have, there are some restaurants where they don't want to have a $20 bottle of wine because they want it to be a little more upscale. They,
Sure.
want to bring in a higher clientele. There are some that don't want a $300 bottle of wine, and they let me have the best of both worlds. So it's pretty much a dream job for me. Not to
I
mention they
tell
let
you,
me go to places like Texom and, Refresh, and
yeah,
get to hear out from all these amazing people in our industry and see what the rest of the world's doing. And hey,
yeah.
how can we better our industry here and bring Mississippi up to the next level, which is what you and I are all about.
So when we travel and we go to these places and we go to these trade tastings and we go to these conferences and all these things, a lot of it for us, it's I don't want to say it's less work, just because there's less responsibility, right? We're not responsible for the people that are working with us. We're just responsible for working with others and working with them well. Right. We did what, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock call times every morning in Dallas. We had 9 o'clock call times or 11 o'clock call times in Alabama.
Yes.
Um, I feel like there was somewhere else we went, but I don't remember.
Oh, that was here. We were here for Sante. So
And
Sante
that
came.
was, yeah, yeah, and that was 11 o'clock till, well, we don't have to talk about that part
Yeah.
because
So
we
a
were
little
home.
bit later.
But to the point, anyway, we're working at these events, we're working at these conferences and at these situations, and to the two, when I say working, right, we are educating others around us, and our expertise doesn't just end with I now know what I want to drink and what I'm going to do in the restaurant. But how many times were you at Sante talking to someone about what they were drinking, like giving them details?
Almost the whole night. I mean, it was nuts.
That's
And
kind of the
literally
beauty
going
of
around and
everything.
seeing our guests and saying, "Hey, what are you drinking? What do you like? What do you?" But because that's it's not what I like to drink. I'm going to go buy what I want to drink regardless. So I can
Yeah.
buy that and bring it home. I'm buying for other people. So we need to hear that. That's what's important to us. So
Um, I love the don't isn't your favorite question? Ooh, what's your favorite wine to drink?
exactly. What's your favorite? What do you drink at home?
It's like,
Drink a lot
oh,
of coffee at home
it's
so I can drink a lot of wine.
a lot of coffee and a lot of water, a lot of tea. You know, being a professional is a lot of fun. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So we talked about thinking different. We talked about speaking different about wine. What are some ways that maybe you think we could evolve as a wine community? Right? I mean, we talk about talking about wine differently, some of the old terms going away. We talk about different styles of service, not so buttoned up, serviette over wrist. You know, like what are some ways you think that we could evolve in wine today?
Well, I think a lot of it is even small stuff that we're already doing, but a lot of the things that did come out at TechSom, like one of them that we talked about in our small groups, and I'm sure you talked about it in yours, was even just the simplest things like women being served first at a table and by age at a table. So well, here in the South, I mean, that's manners. That's how we were taught.
Right.
Ladies first, you hold the door open, respect your elders. And I think all of that's important. But I think also, especially for us that are here in the South and have been raised like that, we need to remember that there are other people who that might not hold as much to. So, well, I'll start with the age thing. If you can't see all this, there's a lot of gray hair up here. It comes because I have a 15-year-old and I drink wine until 2 in the morning and then work at a restaurant. So it's not necessarily just my age. I'm actually a lot younger than what I look. So if you're going around a table and you're going to pour for the host first to get a taste, and then you're going to go around the table pouring based on age, I'm real nervous if you stop in front of me when I know for a fact that this person's 5 or 6 years old,
Right.
So
Right.
I think first of all, that's a slippery slope. And then even just so much for us, especially in our community, the Bellhaven and Founder communities are very diverse, and I think are very forward thinking, especially for Mississippi. And so one of the things I taught my staff was, you serve to the host first, and then you just go around the table and pour for everybody.
Yeah.
We don't. based on your table. There are some tables that still prefer the ladies first, but I'm like, if you don't know, we just go straight around. And one of my staff members literally pulled me inside and just said, I just wanted to tell you that really meant a lot to me that you would allow that to happen, because it was something personal for her. And so I think that's important that we always remember that everyone's experience is different.
Yes.
And even what we do, I mean, we want to serve the ladies for as a courtesy. It's a show of respect. Might not be the same experience for someone else. So you just have to step outside of that box. Um,
Um, I think that the manners, right, just being in the South and that kind of thing is one way that we can address it as far as evolution in wine service and so forth. I also think about the way that we talk about wine. Right? How many times do we say things about wine and tasting notes, and it's just over our guests' heads, and they just like, wait, what do you mean?
exactly.
Sometimes I think it's worth to just start talking about wine in the way that is just comfortable and approachable. And the way that I like to do that is to ask the guest questions, you know. And I always say this: there's no right or wrong answer. What do you taste? What do you like? What do you want? There's no right or wrong answer. All of these wines are good. There are some $20 killers, and there's some $100 ballers. There are some $30 flat lines, right? Some dead wines. And then there's like some $200, whatevers. So what I'm saying is it's what you want. I mean, how many times do we sell a bottle of wine that, I'm not that crazy into, but if the guest wants to get it, I'm happy to serve it to them,
Right.
like over and over and over again. And make sure I keep it in stock for that purpose. It's not about me, it's about the guest. So let's talk about this. We've been talking a lot about ladies first, manners, and so forth. Have you
Yeah.
seen any sort of let's just be real. We've been in a lot of places. I've seen a lot of ladies in wine industry presenting, showing up, um, representing for their respective country or brand and so forth. How do you think that has evolved from when you first started?
Oh, it's night and day. I can tell you. So I started in this business literally 20. Well, this will be the start of my 23rd year. I started in 99, in the fall of 99, in this business. And I started studying wine heavily about 12 years ago. And so when I started off, there was even what we do now. Like, I didn't know about tech som. I didn't even know there was such thing as a som when I started in the restaurant industry. So all of this, because all of that was sort of building momentum then. It was not mainstream the way it is now, and there certainly weren't. My first restaurant job, all the all the captains and all the trainers were all men. All the females. Like, I got hired as a host as my first job, and then quickly moved up to server when I realized, whoa, there's money over there. So, and it was great, but it took time to transition up to work your way up to be a trainer, or a lead server, then a trainer, then a bartender. You just kept moving up. But there weren't spokespeople, I guess, for us. There wasn't a mentor for me outside of Mississippi. Now, luckily for me, I had wonderful, wonderful lady, Val Spellman, who was we both know and love,
Love
and
that.
she was one of my wine reps, and she literally would come in the restaurant to taste people on wine, and I would just like, I want to taste that, and she'd let me taste, and there's a lot of, she's like, yeah, absolutely. What do you taste? What do you smell? And sort of started building my palate when it was absolutely hard. I mean, talk about everybody smells and tastes different. My tasting and smelling notes are never what the book says they're supposed to, or what's on the back of the label. So,
Never, never,
um,
never.
and Val put up with me through my I don't really like Chardonnay stage, and all, and I made the remark one time. I was like, man, I really wish I could have a job doing this. And she said, okay, so do it. And she was the first person who ever said, okay, so do it. Like it was no big deal. It's just like, yeah, this is what you want to do. And I was like, wow, I mean, I guess I could. And started, talking and thinking about it. But when I started, I mean, she was selling wine, Leslie McCarty. Of course, was at Bravo with you, where you are now, and
Yeah.
also had her store that she shares with her husband Nathan. And so there wasn't someone in the restaurant for me to study with that I could go up with, and like that I could call and be like, hey, so I'm studying Spain tonight and I have no earthly idea how to pronounce this, or I don't get this, I don't understand what they're talking about. There was none of that. And at our conference in Dallas this week, it amazed me. I mean, so many of our speakers were these women
Yeah.
who their knowledge was just like blowing me away. And I was so excited just to see, because I feel like now people are like, oh yeah, like we're doing this and we're doing that and we're changing the world. And it's like, people like Leslie and Val, they've been here, they've been doing it, but
Yeah.
there's just wasn't that recognition for women or for people of color or anything. None of that was there. And so much of that was on show this week in Dallas. Like I
Yeah.
was flipping through pictures the other day because I really am going to get on social media and get some stuff posted. But like I was flipping through and I was like, this is just amazing to see, because when I started tenure, it was all white men who were doing everything. And if I wanted to ask a question, I had to go and ask them, and was not always going to get a positive response because, well, what's the little girl from Summerall going to know over here asking about wine?
You said something about diversity at these conferences, and you're right. I think that we've seen certainly more diversity in the last couple of years, especially. But I'll say this, man, Texom puts on a show of diversity like no other. And I mean the way that they do it, it's not just to the tune. It's not just saying, "Oh yeah, we're diverse and we just invite the people here and they're just there." No, you invite the people here and then you celebrate them, and you celebrate those that showed up, and then you acknowledge those that are there, and then you also celebrate that diversity publicly, outwardly, not just to them individually. And I think that that's what really makes a big difference. The recognition that they show to those that are there, the way that they celebrate diversity is uncanny. I mean, even to the tune we've seen in the last couple of years in the wine world, we've seen sexual allegations, sexual harassment, assault allegations. We've seen inaction over racial diversity or the lack thereof. And what they've done is Texon specifically, hats off to James, Amy, the entire organizing body, and all the people that direct and do things with them. What they've done is they've put together this third party, or this governing board, that is minority and female operated, as if to say, not only are we addressing the issue, but we're addressing the issue with the people that directly affects. So it takes us out of the picture. And so we're not just going to say, oh, we're going to govern ourselves and check ourselves. We're going to allow those people to check us, and we'll be held accountable to that. And that, I think, speaks very loud volumes for the community and spreading diversity. So that's a hat off to them. So let's talk about some of the fun that we had. So
Yes.
did we drink some really cool stuff?
I mean, there might have been one or two that I would taste again if someone forced me.
we we drank some things that were so cool over the last couple of weeks, this month, Tiffany. It's crazy, and people will. I might have to just post this up, just we taste it and tasting notes, because the details behind it, I don't think that I could express it with the words, even after a couple of weeks of processing it.
Exactly. I literally have been going since we got back. I mean, since I was on the plane coming home, I have been looking through the pictures, trying to figure out how I could post something on social media and in this short little snippet convey what it meant or what it felt like to be there or how important it was. And you can't do that. And so I
It
think
won't
that's
do it justice.
it won't. And so it's like, people laugh all the time, when we're scrolling through Instagram or whatever. And it's like, man, I wish it was scratch and sniff and I could smell that pizza that you're cooking. Or I wish it's like, I feel the same way about that. It's like, I want you to be able to taste this wine. I want you to hear the men and women in this picture. I wish you could hear the talks. I wish you could feel what we felt, because it won't do it justice. And what I also loved is, I mean, the spectrum of wines. So going back talking to I think one of the important things that Texom does, like you were saying, with the diversity, is not only do they put these people up front, but they're building the next level. There are very few organizations out there who would choose people from Mississippi, a very small wine market in the world, to come to an event as important as this. And James and Amy and the Texom crew literally picked, 5 of us last year, 3 of us this year to come back. They are actively not just saying, hey, these are, because all the people, let's be very clear, the people who are speaking at Texom and doing everything at Texom, they are diverse, but they didn't get chosen just for their diversity. They're freaking insanely intelligent and amazing. So their level of education is just beyond belief. But they're also saying, hey, we're fixing you. You're the next level. Get in here. Let's teach you. And so, but to do that, you have to have a wide range. And a lot of times in Mississippi, we do have limited resources. So I love that, the very first wine that we tasted walking through the door was from Silver Oak, which was one of the very first wines I ever had when I started my career. That was one of the first wines I'd ever had. So it's always there's always a Silver Oak always on my wine list, just because that one's near and dear to my heart. It's something I loved in the very beginning, and so many people know. And then, 2 hours later, we're over here tasting 16 different types of sherry, and I'm sitting here going, did I know there were that many types of sherry? Hold up, let me recap. I don't do the math, and then we're in Portugal, and then we're in South Africa, and we're drinking Prosecco, and it's literally, we're drinking $5 bottles that you could, get in a grocery store in other states. And then we're drinking 1969 wines with James at the table at the end of the night. You just can't. Yeah, we drank some good stuff.
We've the wines that we drank, the experiences that we had, the people that we met, the conversations that we had, that we were a part of, the rooms that we were in. You can't really buy these experiences. It really only comes with being in this trade. I think that me and you share a hashtag whenever we do post on social media. My job is cooler than yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of the best things.
Otherwise.
It's one of the best things ever to be able to say, yeah, this is my job. And we take pictures of what we're doing. It's outrageous. It's so much fun doing what we do. I love it. And I know you do too. I mean, hell, that's her into a position I wouldn't be able to do if I wasn't stepping into your shoes once upon a time. So I have to say thank you, Tiffany, for the work you're doing, and your passion shows in what you're doing. You see people that are in our positions and they're kind of like long, or they're check collecting is what I like to say. That's not you at all. Yeah, we're getting paid. We're making a living. We'll take care of our families. But I mean, it's inside. It's in your heart and it's in your soul. There's a lot of passion in you. And I think that you are a perfect example of what a hospitalitarian is, it needs to be, to really push the forward for us in our state and in our region. So thank you so much for what you do. And you do it all in grace. And as a mom, you're raising a person to be as amazing as you, if not better. And you're really helping us all out. So hats off to you, Tiffany. That's what this is. It's a celebration.
Thank you. Thank you. Trust, I could not be where I am right now if it wasn't for my crew, of which you are one of the lead members. I mean, you're constantly, since the day I met you, since you walked into the restaurant, just pushing me. I'm like, man, who is this Chuck person over here asking all these questions? I don't know. I'm over here with my book trying to get the background. And then, and our crew is just great. I literally, the support, Sarah Faye, Megan, Val, Josh, just Brandy, everyone, Eric, Justin. I couldn't do it without everybody. And not even just so much of the time it's, with work, it's like, oh, they did this for me at work, or we're in this study group. And, I came right back in and had to jump right back into the restaurant. So Sarah Faye surprised me, showed up, snuck into my house, and did my laundry and washed my dishes for me, because she knew I'd had a long week and was going out when she had a sick baby at home. That's what our crew. So any success I have is only because I have all of you guys back there literally holding me up and, maybe even doing a little bit of laundry.
Well, hey man, we're here for the family. Well, I mean, that's what it's really about, right? So another thing that we've been talking about in our business as well, in our industry, is community. And I think that community goes beyond maybe just the people that you work with or study with, but community goes into the people that we serve on a regular basis, because they become more than just the people sitting at our bars or at the table. A lot of times they become friends. I think about learning from guests, right? Quick story, what I would go through at a previous position on Friday nights, there were some guests who were regulars, and they knew that I was studying for an exam, a SOM exam. And I gave them a sheet of all the wines that were testable. Like, these are the wines that test me on. So every Friday night, they would bring in a bottle of one of those wines, and they would blind me on it, and just to keep me fresh. So every week, no matter what I was doing every week, no matter what my study regimen was, on Friday, I knew I was going to be blind tasting. And they would time me and everything. And, they would listen. But for them, it was a lot of fun. I created experience for them because they were now able to hear the mind of a Psalm work, or mind of a Psalm student work, and how it makes sense and how I translate it. And then for me, I was able to taste wines, especially with these regulars, that I would not ordinarily be purchasing myself.
Understood.
One of my favorite nights was, and bless these folks, the Joneses. I love y'all.
We all love you.
We love the Joneses. So one of the first wines that I actually called was a Bond Vicina. I actually called it. I didn't call it to producer, but I called to vintage and region and variety. And that was the first one that I actually called. Like, I called a lot of other things about the wines and got the structure and all the stuff together. And they did an amazing job helping me through that. So hats off to y'all, and let me taste some stuff, because God knows most of us Psalms are not purchasing bonds. So
exactly. I mean, how much fun is it when there's like one of your regulars who, like you said, do become your friend or your fan, and then you get something in and you're so excited to go tell them, hey, I've got this wine, I want you to try it, or even you just share the experiences. I have some that I had a couple that texted me because I posted one or two things at one of our tastings, and they're like, whoa, what, you're having a tasting, why didn't I get an invite? And I'm like, I'm not hosting this, I'm actually a guest, so it's great to see them want to be involved. And I've got guests in the restaurant I walk by who knew I had these big weeks coming up with all this drinking, and are you hydrating? Where's your water? Go get your water. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Let me get, it's great. It's like, yes, ma'am, LaShonda, I got my water, I'm hydrating, so just great to support us regardless. And even just you don't have to support the local industry and to support it. Like, it doesn't mean, even if you don't like wine, you don't even have to drink our wine. We love if you do, but literally just, hey, remind us to drink some water or eat a piece of bread. So, whatever it is, that's all support, and goes back so much more, like more than we'll ever say or not. We'll get on here and, start talking and thanking people, and and forget the little things, but it's really all those little things is what makes us get day to day.
Yep.
Those people who come in to our restaurants every day and who click the heart on Instagram or the thumbs up on Facebook, all of that means something to so many of us. And so that's why we do this. That's why we're trying to always do better and bring more great things to Mississippi and make sure that everyone has a great time, because, y'all take care of us, we take care of you. Everyone's happy. It's a community, like you said, it's community all the way around. So
huge community. All right. So look, if you're checking in just now to Monday Meditations with Wine, it's Chuck Nix, the bearded wino. I'm here with Tiffany Bobbs. She's the wine director and sommelier at the Manship Woodfire Kitchen in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. She's been doing amazing things in our state for a very long time. I'm not going to put a time limit on that to date the lady, but what I'm saying is she's been killing it for a minute, and thanks to her, I'm in a place where I can also help push the needle, as well as the rest of our community. That's what we've been talking about is our community and evolution. Tiffany, you've got something in your glass.
I do.
Talk to me now.
All roads, I feel, lead back to Texas. So one of the small group studies that we did was a blind tasting. And the very first wine that we tasted, we were talking through, and I kept going, man, this tastes familiar. I feel like I know this wine. And we talked through, and we're going through, and we were having a couple issues calling it. We were right there, but couldn't quite nail it. And then they pull out this bottle.
Yeah.
Of Broadbent Vino Verde,
Yeah.
which if you've been in the Mississippi wine business, you've seen this bottle for quite some time. This is a $20 bottle on my wine list. It's great wine. And the master som that was leading it pulled out the bottle, and I was just like, oh, that was the effervescence. That was the green, and
that was Melissa Monosoff there.
Oh, most amazing tasting session I've ever been involved in. Taught me more in that 20 minutes than I've learned in the past ever how many years that is. But and so all I could think about, I was like, when I get home, I'm going to get a bottle of that, and I'm going to get back in, because this is something I've literally been drinking for 15 years, and it was still brand new to me that night. Like, I was like, oh, wow, there's this, all this stuff. So Vino Verde is literally the green wine. So you get a lot, real crisp, get refreshing, all these flavors and stuff in it. But it was new. And I'm like, yep, going right now. And not to mention, Mom Soms, let's real talk, all my money goes to Lululemon, Chick-fil-A, homecomings, yearbooks, all this other stuff. So a $20 bottle of wine that's what I drink. When people ask, what do you drink at home? I drink $20 bottles of wine. That's because I'm not one of these people who, like, this bottle won't last, like, that's gone tonight. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's a wrap. We're going away with that. Look, you said something awesome. By the way, that was Melissa Monosoff who led that blind tasting session. An amazing educator, crazy smart.
We should have her.
You said, yeah, we're gonna send the invite. We're gonna get her out there. We're gonna get her out here eventually.
Invite number one, Melissa. Invite number one.
Indeed. You said something about this being like the best tasting, and I agree with you. I think it's one of the most educational tastings. I think it was really because, back to what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about the wine differently than we ordinarily do. Ordinarily, we're in a group tasting and we're tasting for exams. Hey, this exam is going to ask these questions. They're going to look for this kind of an analysis, versus us just getting in front of the wine. What does it smell like? What do you think that is because of? The what's and the whys, the hows, and bring that to the wheres will help you figure out, this wine, or not necessarily what the wine is, but it was just educational to learn more about the wine, to not do it for an exam. That's when the pressure was off and you really get down to it. That's what made those tastings so much fun. I think we really got to do more of that, is talk about the wine. What's really there? What are you tasting? Why are you tasting it? And let's just enjoy it from there. Do you like it? At the end of the day. So in my glass,
there are no wrong answers.
There are no answers. There are no wrong answers.
In front of some of the greatest minds in the wine industry, I said, smells like my grandmother's face cream, Pond's face cream. That's what I smelled. No one else. There are people who would be horrified to say that in front of the people I said it in front of, but that's what I smelled. So,
but you said that in front of MSs and Masters of Wine. You said that in front of these folks, and then we took that tasting note, we took that smell, and we said, okay, that is because of this, or this is the why, and it helped us to deduce the wine to a place and have an extended conversation about it. That was the experience. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So
that's what it was.
Never be afraid. Say what you smell. Say what you take. Like, we're never gonna. I will never think less of you for any tasting note you say, because
no, I won't.
I'm over here with Pond's face cream. So
no, absolutely not. You have to get it together. All right. And I love the fact that you. Yeah, I was about to say, I love the fact you picked a bottle of wine that was like $20, and you said we drink wines that are like $20 or less, or we drink gifts. So when people give us gifts, we drink those. So I'm drinking a South African Syrah from Mosley Wines. Yeah. So,
This time
really
we'll do this
cool.
in person so we can share.
Next time we'll actually do this. So this is Syrah. We're talking about from Swartland. So it's the larger space on the western side of South Africa's wine growing area. But most of the fruit that's selected is from really smaller space near Stellenbosch and Paarl and Simonsburg. So your fruit selection is coming from really small space. Indigenous yeast. So we got a pretty much about as natural as you want it to be to make it make sense. Let me tell you something. This wine is powerful. Um, I got to be honest with you. I really could have let this sit up for probably another year or two. This wine's got some real deal weight on it. It's got a beautiful color, but it definitely deserves to go with something charred and smoky. I need a Pittsburgh rare fillet with this baby.
Let me tell you, South Africa, they're just doing amazing things right now.
Yeah, they are.
I hope that more people get out there and actually start drinking their wines because they are delicious and they are showing better than ever before. And there's so much variety out there. And that's been a big push for us here in Mississippi, are getting these wines in and
Hey, Piper.
with our guests. So I'm loving that you're drinking those because those were some of my favorite in all of our tastings within the past few weeks.
Look, I had some really cool pinotages in the last couple of weeks. And I
Oh,
mean I've had pinotages that are on both sides of the spectrum.
yes.
We've been used to pinotage to be so big and powerful and robust. I've had pinotages that were light and elegant and high acid, and you could give them to a Pinot Noir or Burgundy drinker, and they could find some appeal in it. I was absolutely floored by what these South African winemakers are doing. So hats off to them. Hats off to Mosey Wines. Hats off to South importers because they've done a great job of making sure that our space has some really cool South African juice. All right, Tiffany, let's get into these hot five. Let's learn about you a little
All
bit
right,
more.
let's do it.
All right,
I'm ready for the pop quiz.
come on, come on. All right, one person, dead or alive, who would you drink with? If you could pick one person, dead or alive, who would it be to share a bottle with?
Well, without a doubt, I've mentioned her before, but my tiny human,
Mm-hmm.
which I do think, okay, a lot of people think it's odd choice, but let me tell you, um, our industry, we've got crazy hours. We're tired a lot of the time. Let's be honest, we've drank a lot of wine. We might be a little hungover some of the time. Um, it's hard. It's always hard to be a kid with your mom, but I'm divorced, and so our time with each other is already limited. And she has been such a support to me. I mean, I will go out to these wine tastings. I'll be gone for 2 weeks at a time, and she's always like, "Okay, mom, go do your wine thing." We took a trip to California this last summer. It was our first post-COVID trip, and that was the one thing she said. I said, "Well, what do you want to do in California?" And she gave me her list, and she's like, "And I know you want to do your wine stuff, so I'll give you one day for wine." So 1 out of 7. I mean, a little unfair, but she's been there through it all and is my support. So, and like I said earlier, wine's not cool to her right now. She thinks I'm a nerd and it's dorky and all this sort of stuff. But so I can't wait for the day when I can just sit down and share a bottle with her, and it's just gonna be great. I look forward to it.
I look forward to that day too. I can't wait till our tiny humans are old enough to drink with us. There's gonna be some fun dinners, Tiffany. There's gonna be
I
some
mean,
really
when all of our crew and all the tiny humans grow up, that's going to be one long dinner table that we're going to have. So,
fun. Yes, indeed. Talk about a family reunion. All right, let's talk about it. I may know the answer already, but if you got $20, you're going to pick up a bottle of wine. What bottle of wine are you going to pick up?
well, I can't. Once again, I will say,
Yeah, yeah,
I will say this lovely Vina Verde, or
exactly.
I'm a Bubbles fan. I will say
Yeah,
that. I am. We say parents aren't supposed to have favorites amongst their kids, and technically, I don't think Psalms are supposed to have favorites amongst their wines, but I do. I love my Bubbles, and there's so many great sparkling wines out there right now that you can get in that price point.
mhm.
Um, Charles Beauvais one that we currently pour by the glass at the Manship, imported by International Wines. I love it. And then also I love me some Kate Arnold wines. They're by our brought in by our Mad Vines distributor here in Mississippi. Just great terroir-driven wines. Cabernet from Washington, Riesling from California, Pinot from Willamette, Oregon, where I'm headed in a couple months, or in a month, not even a couple months. So there's just so many great choices. Somebody give me $20. I'm in. I'm ready.
I like that you called out different styles and different places.
I can't have anybody near me.
Different styles. So let me see what style of wine or what grape variety best describes you.
I'm gonna go with Syrah. I've thought about this question because I knew it was coming because you asked these same questions. So I've thought about these answers. I'm sticking with Syrah. A lot of times when I taste and things, I like to throw out an answer and come back and change it, but I'm going to hold to my first thought. So Syrah is not a very well-known grape. I love that you're drinking it tonight. That's perfect segue for this. A lot of people who aren't in the wine industry aren't familiar with it, but those of us who are in there absolutely love it. It's been around forever, sort of like me. But maybe not everybody knows about it because I try to stay under the radar, and so it's got a little bit of spicy, a little smoky, a little kick to it, big, bold, and then sort of eases back out of it. So I feel like that's me. Sometimes I get a little bit of spiciness into me, a little bit of kick in there. So hopefully I'll balance out in the end though. So.
Yeah, you will, no doubt.
It's like candied bacon. I mean, basically, Syrah is like eating candied bacon. And who doesn't love bacon? I'm from Summerall. You gotta love bacon.
I'll take that. I'm getting that savory. I always get the savory, but then the fruit is really. Man, let me tell you, dude, this wine is intense. This wine is intense. Every time I take a sip, every time I take a sip, I'm like, I need a bite of something to go with it. It is serious. All right. So let's see. I got two more questions for you. If you were not in the wine industry today, what would you be doing?
Most likely I would be a doctor. That's what I originally was going to school for. I was in my junior year pre-med at Mississippi College and decided I wanted to devote time to a family. And at that point in time, I thought the restaurant industry was a great business to do that in. I've now since learned that maybe restaurant hours aren't the most conducive to family time. You have to sort of balance that. But yeah, I love science. True to my daughter's interpretation, I am a nerd. I literally have all my science books from when I was studying pre-med and refuse to throw them away. Like they're terribly outdated. No one could take this book and learn to become a doctor with it now, but I still refuse to get rid of them just because I love flipping through them. I love, and wine is a lot of that science. I think that's why I love it. Learning why does this wine smell like this? It's not because there are oranges in the wine, but it's because of, how it's fermented or where the soil is or whatever the case may be. So I love that science that sort of brings me back. But yeah, I'd love to be back in a hospital. I'm probably the only person who enjoys visiting hospitals. So
let me ask you this. You may have mentioned it. What focus did you say you'd be? What medical focus would you be in?
I would be neonatology, the tiny infants, the tiny humans. I would, that was my goal. I wanted to be neonatology, but also now I do realize like I would cry every day. I would never make it because love those babies. So thankfully the Lord knew what he was doing and pulled me into wine where now I only cry if I have like 2 or 3 bottles in one night.
So in our travels, I got one more question for you, but in our travels, and I'm prefacing it this way with reason. in our visits and tastings this month, I always said that if I thought I would never find this bottle. I was like, I'll never find this bottle ever again, or ever, period, because I never had it. I said if I could drink any bottle, my unicorn bottle was an 82 bottle of Bordeaux. Now, it was 82 because that was my birth year, and it was a great year for Bordeaux. And it's also a year that was so great, in fact, that most of the vintage was purchased, thrown into collections, and then the rest of it, if you were able to get any, it wasn't real. It was fraudulent.
Right.
So people were, making up fake labels or putting the wrong wine into bottles. So counterfeit bottles of wine or fraudulent bottles or really, really expensive, highly revered wines. I was able to drink an 82 bottle of Aubryon pretty recently. Thank you to Riley Keenan of Keenan Winery in Napa Valley. So that's my unicorn bottle, Tiffany. What is your unicorn bottle?
So I've literally, it's funny because the more I study, this bottle has changed throughout the years. It started out as one thing, and then it continues to change, and I'm sure it will again. But like I said, bubbles are my favorite, and sadly, my birth year, 1980, was not the best year, and so it was low yields going on, and then also, I mean, it's been a little while. It's been a couple little decades since the 80s. So there's not really a whole lot of 80s champagne out there. Champagne is my favorite of the bubbles. I honest to God, couldn't pick a producer. There are so many great champagne producers that I would love to try any of them. So a 1980s bottle of champagne. I don't care. Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir. I don't care. Just vintage 1980s champagne. I would love to try. I've had very few birth year wines. Period. I've had some, some Armagnac, but yeah, I would love to get my hands on one of those. Just because, how cool is it to think about that somebody's passion, like ours is right now? When I was being born, they're out there making this wine. This is what they were doing. It's like I just love that.
Think about the impact that they did not know that they were making on somebody who was being born this year. Exactly. You know what I mean? That they were making an impact on somebody who's being born, who's one day going to say, I can't wait to drink this wine that particular winemaker is making. They're harvesting it. It's going into their barrels in this year. Who's to know what they didn't know that, but It's the beauty. It's the way that this art has transformed. And that's one of the most amazing things about our business and about our industry. We're creating art.
Birth year. I mean, think about how, like, if you had a child that's born in 2020 or in the wildfires of 2017, like literally it's in that bottle. There's smoke, or there is no 2020, or there's only 10 cases of 2020 because of whatever it may be. Like this, it's more than just the wine. It's the actual story of what's going on. It's amazing.
We just talked about how in the 2020 vintages, we're going to have to start talking about if we're tasting or smelling smoke in wines from 2020 or 2022 vintages in the future. And this is going to be a part of the terroir of the space. So this is going to be typical for Napa wines in the future. And we just don't know what that looks like, moving forward. So it's great to have your minds open to it, to know that there's going to be something to talk about. And just know that we have a front row seat to history. So let's write about it now.
Hey, and this is your public service announcement. We're sitting here talking about our unicorn bottles, both of them birth year. So if you have a friend or if you have a baby, go out and buy a couple bottles and stick on the shelf because one day they're going to want to come back and taste those. Maybe buy a case.
Yeah, it'd be best to buy at least half a case because you're going to want to see those wines as they age, right? And know what they're doing. And always remember, y'all, please drink responsibly and be safe. And whenever you're out, tip at least 20%. Thank y'all so much. Tiffany, thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
I know you've had a busy weekend, and I appreciate you taking the time. Go get some rest, love. Enjoy the rest of that bottle of wine.
You too.
Cheers, love.
Cheers.